about real estate. Recording. Don't worry. It's okay. I got through it with Tim. We're going to make real estate happy. Okay, welcome back to Berkley Local. I'm your host, Chris Weevil, and we're here back at CMNtv in the Solo Studio Pro. Joining me today, Matthew Stransky of, here we go, Stransky and Company Real Estate. Welcome.
That's it. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Thank you for being here. Now, tell me, what is Stransky and Company? What is real estate? What is Berkley?
It's everything near and dear to my heart.
That's right.
So Stransky and Company Real Estate, we've been around as a team for about 7 years now. Specialize in Oakland, Macomb, Wayne County. I'm a Berkley resident, so I've resided there. My wife is definitely, and her family are just embedded in there. They grew up there. I didn't. I've lived there for about 15 years now. Absolutely love it. I was the East Sider that said I was never going to move there. No way.
Why did you move there? Was it because of the marriage, or was it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I think it's one of those areas, especially where I grew up. I grew up in Shelby Township, where you've really got to get there to understand it. And I have 2 boys now, but obviously this was about 20 years ago.
Okay.
And I always envisioned having 2 boys, right? I wanted to play sports and be the dad that my mom and dad were, and so in that envisioning that, I'd see these little 40 wide, 50 wide lots by like 120, 150. The deepest lot in these areas, right, is a little over 200 feet. So it didn't make sense. It was like, man, hopefully by the time my little guy's 5 or 6, he's already throwing the ball further in this yard. But then when I moved there, and I lived in Arizona for a while, I was doing real estate out there, and I moved back to get married to my wife. And when I moved in, I instantly, probably within a month, truthfully, I was like, yeah, I'm never leaving. I love the pace of life in Berkley more than anything. Everything's done at 25 miles an hour. The people are my kind of people, right? You got blue collar, white collar. You got a really diverse, mixed group, which is awesome. And then through all of that, the simplicity, the people, the restaurants, I love the fact that it was really conserving my time, right? I mean, I could run an errand, I could get a sandwich, I could, drop off a lunch to my little guy at Rogers Elementary, right? And that only took 30 minutes. Where on the east side, everything was an hour. If I had to go to the grocery store, I had to fight Hall Road and, all the traffic. Now, I love the east side. But Berkeley's definitely home, and I'm not leaving.
And how does that compare to like Arizona? Like totally different state?
Totally different. Yeah, that was like you get off the airplane and I'm on the moon.
Right.
No grass. The terrain was totally different. I moved back there in 07 and 08, and that'll really give you perspective. But obviously, Michigan was feeling the wrath, and the real estate industry was. I moved down there and, everyone was crying the blues in Arizona. Oh, no one's buying any houses. And at that time, maybe they were only selling 3 or 4 a day, but it was so much better than Michigan.
Okay.
So, I went down there really for work, went down there, enjoyed my time. But, after about a year, I'm like, I've got this great gal over here that I definitely want to be with. And, Michigan was starting to kind of rebound. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go marry this girl.
And you knew you were going to have kids, so why should a family or prospective family want to live in Berkley?
Easy. Berkeley's awesome. I mean, whether you're single, whether you're a family, but as far as the benefits of being a family there, everything's walkable. Again, I think I can really speak to in that I didn't really understand it. But you are minutes away from a park. You're minutes away from Clark's Ice Cream. You're minutes away from Frosty Freeze, right? Like everything is a step away, right? The school districts are great. My wife is a Troy school district teacher, and obviously they hold some really high accolades, but also my wife being the barometer of schools for me, she loves the schools. And my little guy just graduated out of first grade.
Congratulations.
And then my...
any colleges lined up?
Yeah, right, okay. Not yet. And then my little guy was a T-Care, now going to be a kindergartner.
Okay.
And great experiences, I played sports my whole life. Shout out to the Dads Club. Dave Schmidt, Colleen Schmidt. They do such a great job with the program and the volunteers. On the east side, I grew up playing baseball my whole life, but very, very To me, the Dad's Club has been captivating. I mean, the fields, the facilities, everything they have. So if your little guys love youth sports, I will definitely plug that.
And this is a group through the school district, you're saying?
It's actually done through Berkley itself,
Okay.
right? So, and they have a great soccer club called Sox. But I think that for me is really what nails it home. It's the people, it's the simplicity. The hard part is finding the right house and then winning that house.
So how often do those elements come up with prospective buyers that come to you?
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. Especially over the years, because again, I've been here for some time. Berkley was kind of a little hidden gem. I built houses for a while. I built them for about over a decade. And we were one of the first players to kind of jump over into Berkley because we saw a lot of opportunity. At that time, and again, 10 years ago, they were really, Berkley was following the same trends as Royal Oak, right? I mean, there was a huge upside. When we looked at it, what made it really interesting from an investment perspective is there's such a smaller subset of homes, right? So if you think about supply and demand, if you got a lot of houses over there and there's not too much supply, probably going to be pretty favorable as far as an investment, right? So, we made that move there and never looked back. Now, what's crazy, back when we started in new construction at that time, was probably $350. Now it's, at some price points, right? In the right house, it's above $700. So a lot has changed.
And are there new homes being built in Berkley?
Absolutely.
So
a funny part to Berkley about me,
Yeah.
or in my perspective, being that my wife is there and, all of her family, there were certain sections, and they still are, you've got Oakland Manor and St. John Woods and these places that really held, like if you pulled out a map, the values were higher in these pockets 10, 15, 20 years ago. Now, because of the development through the city, so much has changed, right? You have houses that back up to Greenfield that are above $500,000, where 10 years ago, no one would ever thought that. And it really does speak to the community, right? It's not only that nice house that brought them there, it's everything that encompasses it.
And what kind of mix is it as far as people looking for like older homes or newer homes when they're coming to Berkley? Do you
Sure.
kind of...
Well, all my East Side friends like to tease me, that you could have a $2 million house next to a $150,000 house, right? I mean, anyone that knows the Woodward Corridor, that surely exists in all pockets. I think that's what's great, right? I mean, Berkley serves every price point, right? You've got a starter home, you've got a home that is completely finished, like we said, above $700. So it definitely covers the price gap, and you have young people, old people, and everyone in the middle. So it's a very collective group.
And how? Before I get to that, so why did you get into real estate? Why did you start this?
Accidentally. I definitely did not grow up saying, "Yeah, I'm going to be a realtor."
Right. Okay. Although I'm sure some do, but
for sure. Oddly enough, and obviously I have a lot of friends that are realtors. I feel like a lot of us get into it accidentally. But I was an athlete. Like I grew up playing sports my whole life. Save you the story. I had an opportunity to play in college. I kind of quit on that dream, right? And before I could quit, my parents sent me to junior college. So I played a little bit there. Transparently, I was not the best student. I was probably a C student, but I was into sports.
Okay.
Total role reversal. So my parents sent me off to junior college. I played all of 15 minutes of it. Hated baseball, and I was just burnt out. I was done.
Okay.
And then I got into school. I mean, I became obsessed with business. I went to Macomb at that time, right, for school. And I had a teacher named Mr. Rice. Hopefully he's still there. He was a great guy, changed my life. And I became this student, and I became fascinated with business. In that moment in my life, I was really trying to teach myself the stock market. Right?
Right, because business could mean anything, not
yes,
just real estate.
It was. Well, at that point, it wasn't real estate, right? And I'm going to be honest. I kind of became this guy's teacher's pet.
Okay.
He hooked me up with a job. He did all these great things for me, but I just wanted to learn. So he would give me all these books, and I'd read them every 3 weeks. I was reading some boring stock book, front cover to back cover. And I was like, Mr. Rice, the more I read about this, the less I understand. It's so deep, and we would spend time talking about it. Well, about 2 weeks later, we did our first lesson on real estate. And when we did that, I was like, wow, this kind of got the bug. Well, around that time, my dad gave me the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is by Robert Kiyosaki. If anyone's interested in real estate or investing, or maybe if school's not for you and entrepreneurship is, this book will speak to you. Picked it up, read it, and cliche, it changed my life. At that minute, I knew me and my family were built for real estate. At that time, I never again was thinking to be a realtor. I was like, I'm going to be an investor. I wanted to flip homes. I wanted to rent homes. That was really my end goal. And so I went and got my real estate license.
Okay.
And through that, I became a realtor. So I started flipping some homes with my parents. This is back before the days of Instagram and Facebook really being this big thing. But I was so excited that, if I changed 2 paint colors in a house, I had 800 pictures on Facebook. So people started engaging me like, hey, can you help me do this? And hey, my friend needs a house. And I was like, dang, this is cool. So it just kind of snowballed from that, from being an investor to now, serving the public, which is great.
Do you remember
my experience.
Do you remember the first house you sold as an actual house rather than just an investment to someone like who you knew they were going to move in, be a family?
I did not sell too many houses my first year.
Okay.
I did 52 leases and I sold 1 house.
Okay.
Best time of my life.
Right.
Best time. I made all of $4 that year, but I really found what I was passionate about. Yes, I do remember. For anyone that knows downtown Royal Oak, there's a building called the Center Building. And I sold, at that time, in the crash, 07, 08, a penthouse corner unit for $305. And remember the clients really, really well. Still friends with him. His name is Jameson. And that was my first home sale.
So it sounds like when you were studying the business before with the stock market, it was it was like it's too amorphous. It's not real, but
Totally.
you found real estate and it's tangible,
Yes.
and then rather than just investing in homes, now you're going in and so you sort of cleaning up and as you said, you changed the color and you got more people involved. So it became more hands-on, more personal as it went on. So you're doing direct showing of the homes right
For
now?
sure. So what a great question.
Yeah.
So we're structured a little bit differently. When I first started in real estate,
And that's Stransky and Company Real Estate?
that's us. Yeah,
Yes.
check us out, StranskyCompany.com. But really what happened, the way the way the logo, kind of was created was through need. Now, fast forward, start in 07, 08, probably year 2, the end of year 2, I started to get some momentum. I was working my fanny off, working hard, making connections. And it got to the point where I literally couldn't service the clients to the point they needed, right? And it sure wasn't me being lazy. It was just I was only one person. So me and my friend Randy Hambright, who's still with me, he was my first hire. We were sitting in my basement, and truth, we were both kind of crying the blues. He's like, man, I hate insurance. And I'm like, I love what I do. But I really did at that time in my life. I'm like, man, I'm letting these people down. They want to see a house at 5. I'm working till 9. I can't make it, right? So so through that talk, he's like, man, I'm going to do this with you. I'm like, all right, fantastic. Let's do it. So, next day he started the test. He got that done, knocked out, in a couple weeks. And then he's like, all right, I'm going to join you. And I'm like, all right. The day he joined, I'm like, what are we doing? I got to train this guy. I got to teach this guy. And at that time, I was at a great brokerage, Remax.
Okay.
And when I was there was another agent that I become friends with that was a little ahead of me, right? And he started building this real estate team. And I was like, wow. I'm like, what's going on with that? So I was in his ear and learning. And then I realized real quick as he had made a jump a little earlier, excuse me, as I did later, I made the move to Keller Williams. I stayed at Keller Williams for 7 years. When I moved there, it was really to help my friend. The training and just everything that I needed to develop this team was there. And it still is. I can't say enough good things about Keller Williams. And when I went there, that's where things started to happen. We were able to get Randy trained up, and Randy was able to help me help more people, right? And that was exciting. And then he caught the bug. Now, fast forward to where we're at, 7 years later, we have 7 agents that are full-time. We have a back-end team that basically handles all things closing, from the minute that contract comes in to the minute we get you to the closing table. And then we also have showing partners. We have a great girl, our woman named Sherry Sharbaugh. who helps us show homes. So the idea is to keep all of us in our sweet spot, right? Realtors are working on helping buyers and sellers either purchase or sell their real estate. Showing agents are making sure that, again, that never happens where you're waiting for a realtor to get a house.
Right.
We're built for speed. And then that last part is for Elizabeth and her team to make sure that that back end of the transaction is as seamless as possible. And really our whole goal, and we're so upfront about it, is we want 5-star Google reviews. So it's a service-based industry, which I love.
So out of over 7 years, then the company in Stransky Company grew up and built it out.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, a lot of praying, a lot of hard work, and we're always looking for good humans. So if anyone wants to get into real estate, we're always looking for great people.
And you said early on you were thinking maybe professional sports was your path.
Sure.
Have any of the athletics bled into real estate in any way? Is that
every way?
Useful? Yeah,
every way. I feel blessed. Again, I've got 2 boys, and they seem to be enthralled in sports too. And I learned everything from sports. I mean, my work ethic, handling failure, being rejected, working for only I only going to get what I get out of the work that I put in. All of those things translate. I do jujitsu, like we were talking off air. Totally. I mean, that to me is problem solving on the fly. That's all a realtor does. What you see on TV is so far from really what we do. Turning the doorknob is the easiest part. You liking the house is the easiest part. Once that happens, all the hard stuff.
Specifically, martial arts and real estate. How do those come together? How do they unite?
So I think, that marriage like? And again, the hard work that a realtor does, right? There's some people, and I got to be honest, where the real estate market is now, it's really weeding these folks out. But there is, right? There's this idea that we kind of sit on our couch and don't do anything, and the phone's ringing, and we're making all this money, which would be awesome. And if someone has that secret, share it with me.
Career, yeah.
Right.
Great.
But where sports and jiu-jitsu marry real estate, the way our team works is from 9 to 1 o'clock. That's what we call our weight room. And that's where we're doing our lead generation, right? We get a lot of internet leads. We get a lot of sign calls, right? We get this influx of people coming to our site. But at the end of the day, we've got to be proactive and pick up that phone, call them, make the connection, and then also demonstrate the value, right? So the sport of it is in those activities, right? And, so many of my coaches say it, we talk about it as a team. Champions are made in the dark, like that. No one sees the hard stuff that you're doing. Work. They see you on game day, or they see you showing up in closing day, and everyone's excited. So the athlete part is being dialed in, right? Is being consistent, staying persistent, going through the rejection, and then having the grit to get out there and do it. Because I love my wife, but I'm so jealous of her right now, right? She's a teacher. She's done. She worked her tail off. She gets a little break, and they deserve it. But so do I.
Right.
But you know what? I've made the commitment, and I love what I do, that as a business athlete, it never stops.
So what you're saying is,
in other words, every time.
You've never opened the door to a home you're showing and found it's full of ninjas, right?
No.
Not yet.
Now, the martial artist in me would run. I would grab my client's hand and we're out of there.
Okay.
No fight is the best fight.
That's exactly right.
Fight is the best fight. Now, if they would like to, go to the gym and sign the waiver and do things, in a sporting sense, let's do it. I love fighting.
And I'm not asking you to, but if you had to, if you're forced to, do you think you could chop this table in half?
Jiu-jitsu is a grappling art, but I'm an athlete, so I'll try.
Okay,
I'll give it a shot.
Okay, very good. All right, well, so that's good. So it sounds like the market is free of direct conflict in Berkeley, but how is the market otherwise in the real estate market in Berkeley?
Sure. Truthfully, the market's down, right? And I don't think enough people are maybe talking about that. We were, again, talking about some statistics prior, but Berkeley as a whole year to date, as far as home sales, is down 50%. 50%, right? And we were laughing, well, why is that?
Yeah.
Well, there's a few things going on. I mean, interest rates are playing and impacting that. It's definitely, as the rates have risen, it's pushed down buying power. You have people no longer being able to qualify for that. The second part to it is people love Berkeley. right? I definitely think if you give them another reason to stay there, they will, right? Some people are sitting on interest rates at 2 or 3%, right? And then naturally, in Berkeley, there's less people through the corridor that are moving in that area. There's a smaller subset of people. And like I was joking, I feel like none of us Berkeley people are trying to leave.
Right. So what does your group do then in the face of this? How do you keep moving?
Question.
How do you keep going forward?
Yes, great question. Like an athlete.
Okay.
And the way you do that is you dig in. How do we do that, right? Prime example. So we have a listing that's about to go live. Our teammate, Josh Taylor, has a beautiful place he just redid on Oxford, right across from the school, if anyone's looking. But what do? So the first thing we do is we call everybody in Berkeley. 70% of the world is going to tell us right where to stick it. Again, athlete, no big deal, rejection, got this. 30%, 15%, somewhere in there, right, are going to be engaged. We take a really blue-collar approach to what we do. This is not the market. It was never our approach, but it's surely not the market now. You put a sign in the ground, and your Aunt Susie, who got a license, 2 weeks ago, is going to sell it. It's not. So it's really getting boots on the ground. And then for our buyers, that's what we're trying to do. We're through our networking of people, because there's really about 20% of us that do 80% of the business through the corridor, Berkeley included. We are friends with those people,
okay,
right? We are definitely trying to get those deals before they hit the market, or at least give our people exposure to. And then the third part to that, and this is what I love about real estate right now, is the value of a realtor has never been higher. And the reason that I say that is you got to win the house, right? So you also need to have that agent who's going to demonstrate and show you a strategy on how to actually win that house. So that's what we're doing as agents, to definitely make sure our network is strong. We know what's coming down the pipeline, boots on the ground. We're calling the neighborhood, seeing if anyone is moving. And then lastly, we're making sure when they find that house, we win it for them.
Is there any, over the years of doing anything stand out, any unique experiences in acquiring a property or representing a property, selling a property? Anything stand out in your mind, something that's really maybe off the beaten path or out of the ordinary for real estate, or anything really special or anything really
I don't know if we could talk about that on the podcast.
I understand. Okay, but anything that was like, anything especially rewarding, how a property is sold.
Yeah, in rewarding. This job is awesome. And it's a very rewarding career. It's a tough career. It's demanding. It's not what the TV shows. But what I love about it is I don't sell you anything. If me and my team walk in and you don't like the house, let's get the heck out of there, right? So I've sold so many things in my life where, and I'm sure a lot of people relate on this, is maybe your price was higher than somebody's. Maybe your product wasn't as good, right? But you had to get in there and sell the darn thing,
Find
right?
a way,
yeah, right? Not us. That's what I love about this. If you don't like the house, I don't care. I am a consultant the minute you find the house you like. Then, through our building, right? I mean, we're making sure the house is sound, right? We're making sure that you're not overpaying. And if you're overpaying, we're explaining why you have to and it makes sense and you want to, right? So that's what I really love about it. I love the fact that it's all about service. I'm not selling you anything. Mm-hmm.
So what do you think? What does it look like the next 6 months to a year in this market? What are your thoughts?
Crystal ball.
Crystal ball, exactly.
It's funny. I talk to my mom and dad regularly. They're in their 70s, and my mom is such a good businesswoman, right? And I was teasing her. I was like, Mom, I always feel, especially as an investor, I knew when to zig and to zag. Things are hectic right now, right? You've got inflation. Obviously, we're coming up on an election year, and we all know what that brings, right? So there's a lot of turmoil out there. But what I will say is that it's reaffirmed that real estate is a great investment. What I will tell you is I think in the next 6 to 8 months, it's going to return to what it was. It's a long-term investment. You're not going to see appreciation in 360 days that rose 40%, right? But where it's a sound investment is that over time, through paying the principal down and equity buildup, it's still going to be what it was. It's going to be most people's best asset. So that's what I see. Will rates increase? Absolutely. I mean, the Feds came out yesterday, said they anticipate 2 more hikes throughout the year. They have to, right? They fight inflation two ways, with interest rates or people losing their job. I'll take the interest rate. So I think there's going to be some turbulent times, but I always say this: be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. I think it's a great time to buy. What I think you will see is when rates start to dip, everyone's coming back to the market. You don't want to be that guy or gal. The reason for it, and just some real simple math, a year and a half ago now, when rates were much lower, people were paying $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 over asking, right? Now, as rates have went up, payments, let's say, and just using numbers, let's say someone's payment went up $300. So they're at a 5% rate, now they're at 7%, right? They don't want to buy the house. But if you look at it, that $300 over the course of a year is an extra $3,600 a year, right? Or would you want option B, to have a lower rate, a lower payment to save that $36,000, but please bring me an extra $30,000 or $40,000 on top of your closing cost and your prepaids? So when you sit down with us and the team, that's really what we're explaining. Financially, you want to buy a house now. And then, by the way, best part, when rates do go down, and I think they will, let's say in a year or two, right? Refinance. Don't get back out there. Beat the competition. Back to being an athlete, right? I would rather be in a pool of fighters in a tournament and there be 10 of us than 300 of us, right? And people are going to have that same traction through that many people. And I think at that point, what it could turn back into, and it was, in my opinion, disheartening a little bit, is you better have a lot of money. So right now, I think is the most cost-effective way to buy a house right now. We're getting deals in VA, FHA, and that have contingencies where, again, before that wasn't happening. And on our best listings, it's not 45 offers, it's 7, 8, 10, 12. In a team like us, I like those odds. If we got to be 1 out of 12, that's great. 1 out of 50 was much more difficult.
Well, Matthew Stransky of Stransky Company Real Estate, in the final moments we have, it sounds like the overall theme of Stransky Company Real Estate of Berkley is perseverance, is sticking it out. Just again, quickly to the audience, why should people consider Berkley as their home?
Berkley's great, and I can't say enough good things about it. Really, what you got to do is drive through it yourself to see it. But like I said, the community, the businesses there, you've got great restaurants, great local shopping, the school systems. I already propped out all the kids' sports and stuff. Yes. Love it. But central to everything, you got 696, 75. No matter where you're trying to be, you're only about 30 minutes away.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Visit him, stranskyandcompany.com, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.
Berkley Local.